I'm Aaron Dawkins for Rockville 11. February is Black History Month, and we're going to take a walk on the city's African American walking tour with Interim Executive Director of Peerless Rockville, Eileen McGuckie.
A great introduction to the history of African Americans in Rockville is this walking tour that was created by the Historic District Commission about 10 years ago, and it takes you on a walk from about 15 sites around the center of Rockville. Each one talks about people, notable places, places that are here, still here, sites that are still here, sites that have disappeared, but it gives you all the themes of African American history in Rockville. This is one of the stops on the tour, one of my favorites. It is Jerusalem Methodist Church, and it got started as a Methodist church for black and white Methodists in the 1830s. And by the time of the Civil War, blacks and whites were worshiping here together. For the most part, black Methodists were either upstairs in the loft or they were outside listening in. They were never part of the big sanctuary part of the congregation. They were sort of second-class Methodists. Emancipation in Maryland was November 1st, 1864, and after that, not only did slaves in Maryland become free, but also the whole society had to reorient itself for the way it had been for so many years. And this became a black church. I call it the mother of all black churches in Rockville, because out of this church came the other Methodist churches and other denominations from Rockville. This is not only a religious site, but it's also where most of the civil rights movement in Montgomery County generated from this church right here, and the energy within this church and the passion that people had for improving their lives.
Another stop on the walking tour is the old Montgomery County Courthouse.
In the mid-1930s, William B. Gibbs Jr. came to Rockville to be the teaching principal at Rockville Colored Elementary School. Right about that time, the NAACP, out of the Baltimore office, was looking for a plaintiff in a case against a jurisdiction in Maryland that would show the inequality of pay for black teachers and white teachers having the same education and the same experience in the system. And Mr. Gibbs volunteered to be a plaintiff in the suit. So in 1936, attorneys for the NAACP came to Rockville, negotiated with him, and the NAACP attorney was a young man who had just graduated from Howard University Law School named Thurgood Marshall. And so this was one of his first cases, and he and Mr. Gibbs filed a suit in 1936 against the Montgomery County Board of Education for equal pay for black teachers. It wasn't taken well by the school board. They negotiated a little bit and then refused to do it, and so the Thurgood Marshall filed a petition in court for the inequality. And at that point, the school board decided to negotiate, and eventually it was negotiated, so that starting in 1937, black teachers would get half the difference in pay, and by 1938, they would have the entire amount. And that was good for teachers in Montgomery County. It was not so good for Mr. Gibbs, who the Board of Education found some sort of technicality to fire him, and he never taught in Maryland schools again.
Something you won't see on the walking tour are the African American communities that were a part of Rockville since the beginning.
I'm Rockville 11's Katie Giardi here at Lincoln Park. Although it's not a stop on the city's African American Heritage Walking Tour, it is a neighborhood rich in history and culture. We spoke with neighborhood historian Sharon Duffin to find out why.
William Welsh purchased approximately 15 acres from two separate owners and subdivided it to make Lincoln Park. It was the land he purchased was adjacent to property already owned by blacks, so it was already a black area, although not a subdivision.
Many relatives moved into the area, creating a sense of community.
So the entire community helped each other because they were related and because it was so small and close-knit.
Over the years, the community grew much larger and was annexed into the city. Today, many changes have been made to the neighborhood.
Last 30, 40 years, I would say, we've experienced quite a change. Things have improved as far as segregation, but that means the community has changed. and now we are quite ethnically diverse.
The city has also recently learned of a large African American community that was located on Great Falls Road.
The property at 628 was threatened with demolition, and we looked into its history. We learned that the community on Falls Road was not just 1 acre, but as many as 10, and it was a settlement for free blacks that dated back to 1832.
Duffin says it is important to continue learning about the new discovery and the other communities that have shaped Rockville as a whole.
It's good to discover this history and pass it on to the kids, and not have a Black History Month, but to understand that our presence has been for a very long time, and that we are part of the fabric of the community.